Sierra Leone's political climate has been tense, stirred by heated exchange between the main opposition, the All People's Congress Party, and the ruling SLPP, following controversial remarks allegedly made by SLPP's newly elected national chairman, Jimmy, Batilosunga, during his acceptance ceremony on October 18th, 2025. Now, the APC, in a strongly worded presser dated October 20th, 2025, and signed by its acting national chairman, Ambassador Alhaji Usman Fode Ansane, expressed grave concerns over what it described as an alarming statement by Jimmy Batilosunga, allegedly urging the president, the army, soldiers, and marshals to stop the APC in 2028. Now, the opposition party said such remarks represent a direct attack on the constitutional order and a dangerous attempt to politicize state security institutions. The presser, titled Threat to Democratic Governance and the Neutrality of State Institutions, however, the ruling SLPP swiftly countered the APC's claims in a rebuttal signed by its National Secretary General, Honorable Paran Omar Tarawale, describing the opposition's statement as deceptive, manipulative, and riddled with falsehood. Now, the SLPP accused the APC of deliberately misrepresenting Chairman Jimmy Batilosunga's remarks to sow fear and confusion among the public. Now, so this morning we're going to be discussing this particular controversy. For that, I'm joined by Abdul Karim Kamara, barrister. He is a member of the APC media team. We are also expecting to be joined by Moses Mambu. Moses is the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling SLPP. Good morning, Abdul. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure being here. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Sri Leone.
Indeed. It appears as though the APC is vexed. But why are you vexed? Don't you think perhaps that video may have been taken out of context, in a way?
No.
It wasn't.
We are not vexed again as well. But rather we're just performing our responsibility as a sober-minded political party that provides the necessary checks and balances where necessary to make sure that we participate in the democratic dispensation in this country objectively and civilizedly, that will not allow the current government to have a field day of their own, wherein they can just get up one moment and do what they will feel like doing. We want to make sure that they know that there is an opposition that is critically looking at every step they take, and will monitor them critically, and equally tap them where necessary and commend them. So that statement that came from the new sheriff in town was so reckless in its entirety, and the APC condemns such statements coming from the incumbent, that it undermines state security, it undermines peace and quiet, it undermines the fragile democracy we're enjoying. So that's exactly how we look at it holistically.
The SLPP as well countered your previous presser. Well, they said you may have taken it out of context and that you were instilling fear, in the public.
You see, I have got a very, 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 very serious engagement with the current PRO of the SLPP.
Okay.
And I've told him many times that I am challenging him in the strictest of terms, that in the current SLPP and in their constitution, which clearly identifies there is no organ of the party constitutionally curated named the Kundara team, named the soldier team, named the SLPP army. And I said to him, this is what you see when you bring political amateurs to the center stage. We understand the exuberance attached to same. These are young guys who haven't got the proper administrative capacity to lead, if I'm not mistaken, the oldest political party in the sub-Saharan. And so out of exuberance, they think serious administrative prowess can be nexus with hooliganism. And so I was preferring tutorials to him that when it comes to serious business, hooliganism has no space where civilized people sit to discuss. And that statement coming from the new sheriff was nothing less but a punch below the belt. And this is how you see people who are matured when they take the center stage to at least proffer administrative prowess. And so I told him categorically clear that they have started telling us exactly how it will look like. And in my exact words, I said that the APC has no room for violence. The APC condemn in the strongest of terms violence. But however, let the SLPP know that they don't have monopoly over violence. And that is again what I'm repeating here, as I've said. That inasmuch as we condemn violence in its strongest of terms, but let the SLPP equally be aware that they don't have monopoly over violence. And that is more so the reason we've said to them that the unfortunate circumstances that shrouded the entire 2023 elections will never happen again in this country. And that is more so the APC is on top of situation. We are making sure that every step the SLPP takes, if it's appropriate and it is within the precincts of democracy, rule of law, we are partners in development. We are partners to pushing that comes into fruition. But any attempt by the so-called executive, I call them these administrative dwarfs, to at least attempt.
You don't think these are strong words?
Yes. And we use them with all intent and purposes. To attempt to strangulate democracy and to circumvent the rule of law, they will meet us readily awaiting them. They will not take us off guard anymore. And that is more so the reason when I was addressing this issue at Unity online television, I said to the people of this country that this is the 21st century, or better still, the modern age. And Mr. Victor Jones, with respect to you, Sierra Leoneans are no longer in the dark days as they used to be before. With the advent of technology, information is quickly disseminated. And when you mention the name soldier team to Sierra Leoneans who had witnessed the 2018 election, same as the 2023 election, the name Arata of soldier team, the name Rati of soldier team, the Kundara base, and a host of other hooligans, by mentioning their name, it provokes nothing but rancor. It provokes nothing in the thinking of a right person that these people cannot be seated on the same table with civilized people. They dwell, they sit and enjoy confusion. They sit and dwell in sonko in our local parlance. They enjoy nothing but hooliganism. They enjoy nothing but barbarism. And so for the chairperson of the SLPP to awakening a team of hooligans, a team of barbaric people, a team of people who are uncouth and uncivilized, to have a space in politicking, is grossly unfortunate and reckless.
What if the APC had, let's say, perhaps, engaged the SLPP executive before coming out with your presser, about what you deemed, to be quite rough and disastrous.
Yes.
As you described it.
Yes. We
The
believe
statements were, disastrous and it aimed at igniting violence. But you had never, met with the executive. Perhaps you could have, discussed with them first before, retaliating, if I would call it that.
yes, they are just coming in, firstly. And they said, future events cast your shadows. Just a new executive to be officially ushered in. And in your acceptance speech or in your maiden address to your people, you came down or you came out in such a reckless manner. It is now very clear, and it is often than again said, that public misbehavior requires public correction. So if the new sheriff was not magnanimous enough to understand that the task ahead is a mammoth one, which requires civility, decency, and he came down in short, the lowest of the low, we'll correct him again publicly. And that's what we did. So we're now basically telling them, hey, wait a second. The APC is not asking for more. We are saying, can we play according to the rules? We're not asking that we want a situation where we must be given a babysitter position, where we can be pampered and just be directed, go left or right. No. See us as partners in this business. And see us as people who have provided leadership, political leadership in this country. So we are no longer new people in this dispensation. We were there before you came in. So if that is the position, let us sit and discuss. Because politicking, and basically in this particular business we are all in together, it requires constructive dialogue. It requires serious engagement, continuing engagement. But if you desist from doing so, and you want to provoke panic in the mindset of Sierra Leoneans by awakening uncivilized and barbaric structure within your party, that is why you saw the current leader, head of the political parties, is it the PPRC registration commission? He has issued a stern warning that gangs of such nature, they have no room in the political dispensation in this country. So for the PRO again clearly to say at Unity that Arata belongs to Sojatin, and we all knew what Arata did in the most recent by-election before the advent of the PPR, the PR system at constituency 110 at Godrich. He was somebody who was working with a gun, and he had team members around him who were equally carrying guns, harassing people, disturbing people, putting people under serious compulsion, threats of their lives. And we saw exactly how the will of God was done in eradicating him from the face of the earth. So for you again to tell Sierra Leoneans that we still have this team in existence, and we have recruited, in fact, people who are even more worse than Arata.
Is that what
for you and I?
SLPP said?
That's what he is saying, basically. Impliedly, for you to say Arata was a member of Sojatin, and you saying, let Sojatin come on board to stop the APC to take over power in 2028, that in itself speaks volume of the fact that there have been recruitment and there are still more members of that particular unfortunate organization.
What if you are misreading? Perhaps you're taking it out of context.
No, we are not. It was not coming from the APC. It was coming from the new sheriff saying, let these guys come up. Let us stop the APC. And worst of it all was where he attempted to drag the president and the vice president to the gutters. And the APC says, wait a second. We know very well that the constitution of this country says you cannot ascend State House, the highest seat of the land, if you don't belong to a political party. That is more so the reason in the SLPP constitution, the leader of their political party, who by extension becomes the president, is not called the president of SLPP. He is called the leader of the SLPP. And by extension, when he wins the national pool, he becomes the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone. So for you to be in a political discourse, this is where the argument lies. For you to be in a political discourse as central as it was, you and I know that that particular ceremony was 100% political, and to refer to the president of the Republic not as the leader of the SLPP, try to see the distinction here, that the president of the Republic, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, the vice president of the Republic, VP Julia Jallo, the government business leader, Mohamed Chinis, David Moina Senga, the chief minister, he was naming them in a series. That tells you that he was naming one after the other to come and stop the APC, would tell him now, the new sheriff, to communicate same to all those he has named in his series, that it's not going to be business as usual. And I repeat this, that President Bio is nicknamed the father of democracy. He has done his bit for Sierra Leone. Let him enjoy his peace and quiet as he intends to retire. But in an event, he attempts to meddle into the politics of this country by creating state institutions that are supposed to be apolitical, that are supposed to be neutral, that are supposed to hold the balance, to take in sides. That decision, if any, will be resisted fiercely by the APC. And we will create no way that that particular attempt by whosoever to attempt to use the state institutions that are supposed to be 100% apolitical, i.e. the army, the police, Sierra Leoneans are going to resist that those institutions, as per constitutional creation, they shall and shall always remain to be apolitical. That's our position. We'll continue to anchor on that point and equally remind him that inasmuch as President Bio is now the chairman of ECOWAS, so many international laurels have been accorded to him. Let him be the person who is a respecter of democracy, who believes in the tranquility of democracy, who believes that the only way Sierra Leone can continue to harness its fullness of potentials is when there is peace, quiet. But any attempt to strangulate democracy on the altar of impartiality, on the altar of partisan politics, wallahi, in my exact words, they will see the fiercest of resistance from Sierra.
Let's look at in the personal commitment. When I say personal now, I'm talking about APC as a political party. Where do you draw the line as a political party? I ask because as the 2028 elections draw closer, there are a lot of issues here and there, mainly so and mostly between the APC and the SLPP, which in itself would have an impact. It would trickle down to your support base and your sympathizers. But as a political party, where do you draw the line in the interest of national security and just decorum generally in the country? Where do you draw the line? What's your commitment?
Yeah, we'll draw the line to the interest of national security. That is exactly the basis for which we raised the red flags. That you, as the new head or chairman, if I'm not mistaken, of the oldest political party in the sub-region, to awakening organizations that are akin to confusion, rancor, and sonko-sonko, to come and have their day in politicking signals a serious threat to security, state security. What do I mean by that? We all know, I repeat again, the menace that was created in 2018 and 2023 by the soldier team. And there has been nowhere that the SLPP had condemned those unfortunate acts. And so for you again to come and you nomenclate yourself as the new sheriff, to awaken in same groups of hooligans, you are doing nothing but undermining the peace and quiet of this country. Simply put, imagine we have a situation where the police want to at least prevail on a particular event where to some extent it's chaotic or rowdy. And then the Kundara team and the Soja team, as awakened by the new sheriff, are there present. And they know they want to wreak mayhem. And the police is there to create sanity and quiet. Do you know what you're doing? You're going to put the police and this unfortunate group of hooligans into collision. And when they collide, what's going to happen? There's that proclivity of unrest in the country. And what is happening? You're automatically undermining state quiet peace. So that is also the reason our moral responsibility as a political party is to come and ascend the seat of power and lead our people in a very, very, very peaceful and democratic way. So anything that will provoke sonko, rancor, chaos, the APC will dissociate from it, will raise the red flags, will call on well-meaning Sierra Leoneans like all of us that, look, something is about to happen. We are calling on all Sierra Leoneans. Let us condemn this to the greatest extent. Let us see how we come together and show to these people that we only have one thing in common, and that is Sierra Leone.
Let us just mention quickly that the production unit extended an invitation to Moses Mambu as the publicity person for the SLPP. Unfortunately, we've not seen him in the studio this morning, but there was an invitation extended, and he actually sent consent to be here this morning. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him. AKK. The APC and the SLPP tend to go to some extremes at some points. But every one of you in those political parties are Sierra Leoneans first. As a Sierra Leonean first, how can the nation put the APC and SLPP, for lack of a better way to put it, under control? So as we get closer to 2028, you don't erupt chaos in the country for the rest of mankind. As a Sierra Leonean first, yes, how do you think the public can put both the APC and the SLPP under control?
Yes. Firstly, is to make sure that the people of this country collectively resolve to whisking this unfortunate dispensation we now have called the SLPP off from the corridors of power come 2028 through the ballot box. Because we have seen nothing. The resolve to put them under control, that's what I'm arguing.
Yeah, so
that the resolve of Sierra Leoneans putting Sierra Leone first.
How do we put APC or SLPP in power?
No, to put them under control.
What I'm asking is, how do we as a country put them under control, especially, again, going from the context of the conversation, where both parties tend to make statements that incite chaos or violence here and there. That's exactly what So how do we put APC and SLPP under control?
That is why we're communicating to Sierra Leoneans. You will see the composure of the APC and the SLPP in how they communicate to Sierra Leoneans, who is communicating to Sierra Leoneans on a very serious and sober-minded way, and who is communicating to Sierra Leone in a reckless and demeaning way. And then the people of this country, the only way they can put a stop to these excesses is through, they cannot cane us, they cannot beat us publicly, but it's just that the time the political parties will come to Sierra Leoneans to say, hey, we need your support, we need again to reawakening our social contract, the people of this country will say, no, whilst we gave you that contract, you treated us with reckless abandon. You never thought you were communicating to us as the people to whom sovereignty belongs. So this time around, we are no longer going to give you our mandate. And we will defend that we first gave you our mandate, you treated us with triviality. So this is exactly how, firstly, as a patriot, you will serve your conscience right. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. See how the SLPP and the APC are handling themselves. Composure. How are they addressing national issues? How are they sincere to Sierra Leoneans?
Is it my question that wasn't clear? I'm asking, how do we as a public put the APC and SLPP under control, especially in times when, through your politics, you make statements that fan the flames of violence and chaos in the country?
And that's what
I'm asking for both the SLPP and the APC, not just one political party. And I mentioned that I'm asking you as a Sierra Leonean.
That's what I am saying.
How do we, you've been speaking mostly on SL, we've not heard submission on how the APC. So how do we as a public, I'll ask again, put the APC and the SLPP under control so you don't lead the country into chaos just by both parties' desperation to get hold of the presidency?
It's more than often said and again, when it's not broken, don't fix it. If it's not chaotic, don't prefer solutions. What we are saying here is that the APC is well behaved. We are doing everything humanly possible to put Sierra Leone first against our individual selves.
Is it that you lack maybe a suggestion to profile this morning to
how can I?
Citizens on how they can keep both parties under control?
It's not about by checkmating their excesses. By checkmating their excesses. I repeat, there is not an iota of an excess you can pinpoint as of this moment since the SLPP has taken over the reins of governance. However, with regards to the excesses of the SLPP, so that it will not provoke sonko ranko and chaos in this country, you can see what is happening all over the place. So the only way you can put these people on their toes, to stop them, or better still, to nip it in the bud, is to hold them completely and every now and then seriously accountable. Checkmating them. That is why in governance we have what we call checks and balances. When the excesses become so insurmountable, what do? Legitimately, you know the option. So in other words, if the excesses of the APC are clear and glaring, all you need to do is to make sure that, hey, continue to fix them over there. Don't give them the center stage. But if, however, if those that are in the center stage already occupying it, their excesses are so insurmountable, you change the goalpost. You shift them and bring another new player. And that's how exactly you hold these two political parties accountable. Except otherwise, if that is still not sufficient for you. But I will tell you, every Sierra Leonean, knowing too well that this is exactly the situation, they know they cannot cane them, they know they cannot fight them. The only way you have to correct the excesses of either of these political parties is when they come back to you to renew their mandate, is when you tell them, no, hey, we tested you, you are not fit for purpose, as it is in the SLPP now.
Right.
Thank you very much, Abdul Karim Kamal, for joining us this morning. As we close now, let's remind you again that we extended an invitation to the SLPP through Moses Mambu, who is the spokesperson for the party. He was supposed to be here. He informed the production team that he would be here. Unfortunately, it's a no-show this morning. But we had extended an invitation to the SLPP to be part of this conversation.